Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number 717 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Tuesday, August 19th, 2025, and it seems to be a great day here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and not with me, as usual, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, already hard at work. A big thank you goes to our podcast funding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. We have a show for you this morning. Not sure how peppy it's going to be because you have yourselves a very, very sleepy beaver. Because for those who are joining us this morning but didn't join us last night, we had a live by-election returns special. And it went till close to about 3 o'clock in the morning. And of course, after the show being complete, just like often happens when I do a play or whatnot, I had some adrenaline and was jazzed. So I did not get to sleep. And I say sleep until about 5 something this morning. So at most, I got an hour, and I'm back with you this morning. It might be a short one as a result, so I can get a little bit of shut-eye, because I also have a meeting at 10, and might not be able to go all the way till 9, because if I go to the meeting at 10, that's going to last until noon, and then I won't be able to get back for nap till 1, and I'm not sure I have energy to be up till 1 without at least another short nap somewhere along the way. But I will do my best for you this morning. Kids and cubs, how is your mental health today? Oh, okay. All right. Mine is pretty good, all things considering. Yesterday, for those of you again who didn't tune in last night, as you know, if you tuned in to watch our morning show yesterday, we had how would I say, a bit of trouble, which should be an understatement. For some reason, but for some reason, we did have a pre-record ready for you to go at 7 o'clock in the morning. It was scheduled, and it should have worked like a pre-record has worked every single time we have done it over the course of our 5 seasons. But of course, that did not happen. The reason we had a pre-record, of course, is because I was in the Toronto area celebrating the 73rd birthday of my father-in-law-ish, because technically my beaver sweetie and I are not married. So that's why I say ish, but for all intents and purposes, my father-in-law. It was an absolutely wonderful occasion, surrounded, as I often wish people, love and laughter, family, good food, good music, that type of stuff. So that was nice. It was the first time since my beaver sweetie and I've been together that I actually spent time with his family without him because he is still in Romania on his vacation, spending time with the rest of his family. So it was a little, it felt a little odd at first to be going alone, but it, it didn't feel odd once I was there. And I just, you know, missed my cuddles like I do every day since he's been gone. But it was a wonderful time. But yeah, yesterday ended up being a full, full day. When I say I had a day, so it started with me waking up in the morning and realizing that even though my phone was charged into the wall, well, was plugged into the wall, and the charger in the wall was very much plugged into the phone somehow did not charge overnight, and I was hoping to have a full battery for the ride home, of course, so I could do a little bit of work. So I was doing my best to try to get as much of a charge as that as possible. Then, as I normally do when we have a pre-record, I pop in at some point during the morning to have some quality DAMFAM time and watch with you guys. And that's when I noticed the show had not started. I tried, I think on 3 different occasions 2 different occasions to try to get it started myself, but, as we know, technologically, I'm not the most inclined, and that didn't work very well, and by the time my 2 attempts had failed, I wasn't even sure whether or not the recording existed anymore. Mr. Grizzly managed I wrote to Mr. Grizzly, he managed to get it going around 11:30, but then the recording cut out after 55 minutes. So those who had watched didn't get to see the whole show. And fortunately, I was technologically inclined enough to be able to reschedule it at 12:45, and that time the whole show went through. Um, so yeah, that stuff happened, but that wasn't all, kids and cubs. The day, how would we put it? Kept getting better, if you for lack of a better word. Um, yeah, just things kept on happening. Um, ugh, After all of that, um, I took a ride share home, and I learned 2 things about myself yesterday. First of all, there are days when technology just hates you because everything was going wrong. You know, the language on my keyboard would keep on changing automatically. A lot of things that I would post sometimes would freeze and said, "You can't do that. You got to do that again." So I had to do like everything 2 or 3 times. Uh, so technology was not my friend. And two, I also learned that there is a short limit, about 75 minutes, to the amount of very aggressively exuberant and extremely praising Christian music I can listen to in one streak. And I'm not saying anything bad against Christian music, right? Nothing wrong with that. Um, the thing is that there was 2 hours and a half of it all the way home, and every song was exuberantly praising Jesus. And when you are exuberantly praising Jesus, songs speed up, drums get more um, intense. The voices, especially if you have a whole chorus behind you, get louder and louder. And then, of course, if someone is singing gospel style, there is a lot of uh, uh, showing your fervor through some screaming and shouting, and you're listening to the lyrics, and there's a lot of repetition, like Jesus, your face is amazing, your smile is amazing, you are amazing, your love is amazing, your this is amazing, and okay. I get it. And all the songs are about 6 and 7 minutes long, and and it's not that I had a problem with Christian music, I just might have liked 1 or 2, uh, "I Was a Sinner, Now I Have Repented" ballads in the mix for a change of pace. So, I emerged from that with a, rather splitting headache by the time the ride was over. Now, the ride was safe and everybody was nice and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, ooh, my head hurt. So I decided to then, treat myself to a hot chocolate because, well, I'm worth it. And, while I did that, went to the bathroom, and I wanted to stay there just for a little bit, but, realized that, when I washed my hands, I ended up with some very, very strategically placed to be extremely humiliating and embarrassing watermarks on my shorts, my very, very light shorts. So, um, not wanting to walk down the street and have everybody wonder whether or not I had somewhat soiled myself, I decided I was going to remain seated until the water dried. Ah, and, by the time that happened, it was 2:11 PM, and then, on my way home, from that, I answered a phone call, and, I was on an express bus and blew right past my stop, so with luggage and everything, instead of, stopping near my house, stopped somewhere where I had a 20-minute walk back home. And by that time, I had enough. It was like, "Okay, I'm not going anywhere near a toaster today because this is not gonna work out for me." Fortunately, I was able to keep my sense of humor and laugh about it all. I shared it, and I asked everybody to please laugh at my travail so that at least some good can happen from them. So, nothing life altering, nobody got sick, nobody went hungry, all that kind of stuff, but just a day of, "Ah." Fortunately, kids and cubs, later on in the evening, as I told the people who watched the show, I got a phone call out of the blue from someone, who had the nicest of compliments, for the work that I do, and, when you're not having the best of days and somebody just pops in and adds sunshine to your day and you weren't expecting it and it just comes out of left field and it just makes everything better. Well, that's pretty much what that was. That was balm and salve for all that had happened throughout the day. And the rest of the day went smashingly well. So, to you, good sir, who gave me a call and brightened up my day. Thank you so much. And it was, when I say it was a compliment, it wasn't just like, oh, good job. It was thorough and extensive and, very precise and detailed. And it touched me so that my eyes were actually welling up with tears that someone would someone would think so highly of what I did, but that someone would be so kind to take the time to say it and let it be known. Just took time, just called me randomly and said, I just want you to know this. So, yeah, it was, you know, good things happen often, and sometimes we don't take the time to notice them. But yesterday, because of all that had preceded it, it it made it stand out in particular. And like I said, the timing could not have been more perfect. So, of course, prepared the show for yesterday evening, and that went very well. We had three lovely guests. Sarah Spanier, with whom we had an interview, joined us last night for a couple of minutes for a quick spot as she was watching the returns come in. And then we had our friend Dave Gray, economist from Alberta, talk to us about what was going on in Alberta from his perspective and how this could affect the situation in Alberta, keeping things very real as he does. And sometimes that could seem a little dark, but uh, he gives it to us straight. And opens our eyes and makes us think about some serious things. Uh, and of course, he's a delightful person, so it's always great to have him on the show. And then from British Columbia, Mr. Wolf came in, and or also known as Adam McGillivray, and gave us some commentary because he can't join us in the mornings given the time zone. So whenever we get to do an evening show or a special, I always ask him whether or not he can come on the show, and I don't think he has ever not answered the call. So very grateful for those three people popping in yesterday, which made it so that I didn't have to do all the talking all the time during the length of the show. And we got a good audience for it was a by-election show. I think when we did the actual federal election special, we got as many views, or close to as many views for a by-election live return show as we got for the federal election. So there was a lot of interest in the coverage. Now, there probably wasn't a ton of TV coverage, and therefore what we were doing may have drawn some people, but that too was very rewarding when the night was over. So all in all, a good time. Like I said, a bit of a bumpy day, but we kept our head, we kept our positive attitude. Uh, uh, I have to say, when I say kept a positive attitude, I have to put a little caveat because up until the time that phone call came, I was about to enter a little bit of a spiral of and as soon as like the slightest thing went wrong, just go "Ah!" and rather than remaining calm. But I did manage to keep my wits about me, and having done that, the rest of the day went well. So it was a half and half day. Let's call it that one. It was half and half. So of course, kits and cubs, you and of course got lots of love and support from kits, and thank you to the kits who did follow my suggestion and did get a good laugh from my foibles yesterday because that made me happy. It truly did. I know some people don't like when people laugh when they have foibles, but I'm the type of person that when foibles happen, when it rains, it pours. And then when good stuff happens, it's like bright sunshine for weeks on end, right? Everything just comes in clumps. So, so yeah, you have to laugh because there's this when I get a day like that, that's a series of things that can happen to only me. My whole life has been like that. So I've gotten to the point now of recognizing the pattern and trying to laugh it off, knowing, okay, this too will pass eventually. I just hope it's sooner rather than later. All right, kits and cups, I've been talking your ear off this morning. Let's take a little quick look into the magic monitor and see who we have with us. Oh, that was the other wonderful thing about doing the live show in the evening, right? Because there's a lot of people who can't join us in the morning. So got to see some new names and interact with other viewers that we don't get to interact with in the morning. And that's always a joy because it's always nice to make new friends. So here on the chat this morning, and I'm going to go a little quickly through this. We have good morning, Kit Argosi Acres, Kit Nona Carol, nice to see you, Kit Hyper T777, Kit PNC Bio, Kit Cat W. Good morning to you, Kit Linda M. Hello, Kit PNC Bio. Nice to see you. Kit Uncover here, doing the job of bringing us the news. Kit Frank is with us. Thank you all for being with us this morning. You too, Kit Tavi G. Good morning to you, Kit Mohan and family. I hope that Miss got some good rest. She was up a little later than she thought that she would be. Kit Elaine is with us saying, good morning, dear Queen. Hello. We have Kit Jen with us as well. Good morning to you. Taking another look in the mirror. Kit Toronto down. Hey, my friend. Nice to see you this morning. Thanks for being here. And Kit Christian. Bonjour, mon ami. J'espère que ça va bien. Who else do we have with us? Is that everybody this morning? Just taking a look quickly here. Kit Tim is with us. Thank you. Good morning to you. Miss Blue Ocean. Hello, dear one. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's always a pleasure to see you here in the chat. Keep going through the chat very quickly. Wow, you guys have been, well, actually, I'm the one that's been talking this morning, so you guys had a lot of time to talk. I shouldn't be so surprised. Kid Saucy is here with us. Kid Bucky is here with us as well. Good morning to both of you. Kit, my dogs are goth. Hey, nice to see you. It's been a short while. Yeah, lovely to see you with us this morning. And that is everyone here. All right. And I see Kit Nonakara is saying, I wanted to send you my mama's recipe. That must be for the tiramisu. But it's a bit of an emotional thing. Opening her recipes makes me cry a lot. I can definitely understand that. Please don't put yourself through anything that's difficult. But if ever you happen to stumble across it on a day that's not too tough that way, I would be more than happy to receive the recipe. But please, I do understand that as someone who does not have his beaver mama as well with him. I understand what that feeling can be like. And so I get you. No need to apologize. You're guilty of nothing other than being human. Okay. All right. Kids and cubs. Well, let's get to the good stuff. Pierre, it's Groundhog Day in Canada. When the alarm rang 6, did you hear I Got You, Babe playing? Because, yeah, uh, for all the talk throughout the whole by-election about Pierre Poilièvre, uh, what this by-election would mean, particularly for his leadership review and whether or not he would even win the by-election because, there was a lot of talk. Uh, Dave Gray described it as if you were looking on Twitter, whatever algorithms and stuff like that, you would have gotten the impression that it was going to indeed be a close race. But then, um, it ended up not being as close. And Mr. Gray was talking to us about, having the money to be able to buy whatever content you needed to flood the algorithm, which is what the conservatives are very good at doing. And therefore, um, you know, the overall message can be different. And yes, we're going to. Where I saw my shadow, and we are going to have a significant amount of time of Pierre for the foreseeable future, lest something extraordinary happen. I am sad to report. Um, Now, when these types of things happen, as I mentioned on the show yesterday as we were closing, you're going to, so I'm going to give you some words of wisdom a little early here, kids and cubs. You're going to get a lot of online traffic going, oh my God, the libs can't handle it anymore. Oh my God, they're crying. They're blah, blah. They fear Pierre. Oh, they're falling apart, all that kind of stuff. They can't cope, all the regular type of insults. Um, all of that is bait, right? Because we're not that side, right? They're the side that complains that everything is rigged and everybody cheated and all that kind of stuff. We have Elections Canada. It's one of the most respected bodies in the world. It's, it's a heavily conservative district where the last 3 elections didn't go conservative by anything less than 70%. And last time was over 80%. Pierre won. All the political experts had been saying from the beginning that Pierre was going to win this one in a cakewalk. And that is indeed what happened in this case. So, you know, they want us, they need us. They wish that we were all waking up crying and in tears. Oh my God, I can't believe Pierre won. It's just the end of the world. And I was like, no. That's, we had hoped that Pierre would have his ass handed to him because that would have been nice. Um, we also would have hoped that Pierre, if he won, maybe won with just 60%, and therefore there would be, a big gap with what Damien Carrick just scored a couple of weeks ago, months ago, maybe, if you want to. Yeah, April. I guess we could say months ago. And that the difference between that would mean that he would have a rough ride going into the party leadership uh, confirmation that's going to be happening in a leadership review in January, I believe. And I mean, there are still things that could happen. I mean, if we get to January and things are such that the gap in polling between Mark Carney and Pierre Poilièvre is still the same or even greater, if the difference in the preferred prime minister metric and the personal approval rating is the same, there might be some people thinking twice about, do we want to go into yet another election with someone who has proven that he is not able to win against Mark Carney and still this unpopular? Do we roll the dice and take the chance that by the time that there's another election in a minority parliament, so it's not guaranteed that they have that 4-year runway necessarily. Um, you know, do they want to take the risk that Pierre will be there, considering he didn't win the first time and he is not going to pivot or change, or you know, or did they try someone new? So I mean, that dynamic is still there, but there is nothing in this result that's going to say, "Oh my God, he performed so much more terribly than Damien Carrick, and therefore he's got to go immediately. He's in danger." That is not going to happen. Uh, Again, sadly enough, for those who would like it, liked to have been the result. The results from yesterday, kits and cubs, we will show them to you here. Let's put them on display for those of you who are watching. And yes, kits and cubs, the conservative, Pierre Poilièvre, won with 80.4% of the vote, picking up 40.548%. Bonnie Critchley did do well, picked up just under 10% in whole numbers, got 9.9. So if you round it up 10, but got 9.9% of the vote and picked up 5,013 votes. The Liberal candidate, Darcy Spady, that surprised a lot of people that the Liberal candidate finished third there. But then again, the Liberal candidate did have a lot of experience in the petroleum sector. He scored 4.3% of the vote with 2,174 votes. The New Democratic Party candidate, Catherine Swampy, collected 2.1% of the vote and had 1,050 votes. The United Party of Canada candidate, Grant Abraham, pretty to the right, picked up 1.5% of the vote. And United Party of Canada, right? Not a name that a lot of people know. So that's 773 votes. And that outclassed by a lot the PPC candidate, Jonathan Bridges, who only got 0.3% of the vote and 137 votes. The Libertarian candidate, Michael Harris, got 102 votes for 0.2%, as did the Christian Heritage Party candidate, Jeff Willerton, also got 0.2% of the vote with 91 votes. Independent candidate Sarah Spanier, who was a guest on our show, picked up 53 votes for 0.1%. The Marijuana Party candidate, Kenneth Kirk, picked up 41 votes for 0.1%. And the Centrist Party candidate, Ahmed Hassan, picked up 15 votes and didn't even notch 0.1%. And the centrist candidate that I know of did not participate, at least in the town hall from Camrose that was there. I don't know if he got to go to the others, but didn't have all the names that I mentioned above ahead of the Marijuana Party candidate and the centrist candidate were all people that were at that town hall from Camrose that was live and that we talked about on the show. Then we get to all the allegedly independent candidates from the longest ballot committee, and Jason Buzzell, Jenny Cartwright, Bert William Westergaard, and Breckham Zimmer are four that tied for 11 votes. So they are the most popular of the protest vote. And then you can see so let's just, from this point on, these are all longest ballot candidates. So it goes down, goes down, goes down, goes down, goes down, keeps going down and down some more, and yet some more, and yet some more. And then we get to the people with one vote, which I assume these are people that actually did live in the riding and joined the protest and voted for themselves. And then we get that's a lot of people. And then we get to the series of people who have 0 votes, who I assume are people that run under longest ballot committee banner, but that did not live in the district and therefore were not able to vote for themselves. 99.65% of polls have reported, so there's just one poll that's missing that hasn't reported yet. There was 85,736 registered electors. 50,434 turned out for a turnout rate of 58.82. For a by-election, I would think that that is rather uh, solid. When just looking very quickly at how that compares with Damien Currick just a few months ago. The turnout in that one was 76.49, but it was a general election. But even though the result was a foregone conclusion then as well, Damien Currick picked up 82.84% of the vote. So Pierre picked up just a little less, but not anything that is statistically significant enough to start prompting discussion that he's in danger. I mean, the only difference is, see, about 2%, pretty much down the line, 2 to 2.5% less. So that won't be enough to provoke that type of discussion. I would have to do a little bit of math to figure out uh, proportionally to turnout, whether Pierre's result is much worse or or better than Damien Currick's. And that's math that I do intend to do at some point to figure that out. But given uh, the vote share that he got, I don't think that even if I did the math, it would be very statistically significant. But it could be an important not important, but an interesting point of trivia uh, to see whether or not proportionally to turnout, Pierre did worse or better than Kirk. If it's worse, it is something that somebody could run with a headline that could be a little sensationalized. But once you would read the article and see the fine print in there, the detailed explanation, I don't think the headline would not reflect um, the convincing nature of the win here. So, yeah, that's what we have as a result. Like I said, there's a lot of us that are disappointed by that, absolutely. But the world's not going to end because, um, you know, we kind of expected this. We had hoped for better, uh, you know, and there was nothing wrong with being optimistic and watching Money go ahead and do her thing and hoping that she was resonating. And let's not kid ourselves. She did resonate. She's an independent candidate in a riding that goes overwhelmingly conservative, which did go overwhelmingly conservative, that took, for all intents and purposes, 10% of the vote in the election that we just had. The Liberal candidate Brett Sutton, who ran against Damien Kirk, picked up 11.67. So she didn't do much worse than the candidate who finished in second place the last time. And the candidate who finished in second place last time was backed by the political machine of the party that actually won the election. She did this as an independent. So she did capture a moment. And it was also the way in which she campaigned, and we can say the same thing about Sarah Spanier. And when Sarah Spanier was talking to us yesterday evening, she did have some things to say about some of the other candidates that she got to interact with, and maybe I can. Maybe I would be able to bring you that comment and play it into the show today, a little later on. That idea just came into my mind. Uh, but stating that she had learned a lot about them, and as a candidate herself, was impressed with some of the other candidates that were there as well, and came out with a good impression of them. So the thing that was interesting for the residents of Battle River-Crowfoot is that they actually had a lot of legit choice there this time around. Even though there was the big machine and the one seemingly inevitable candidate in the mix. But as I said on the show yesterday, as it pertains to Bonnie and Sarah and all the others who campaigned, and even if they campaigned from political perspectives that I do not personally adhere to and even have difficulty understanding, it seems that a lot of them um, uh, carried themselves uh, as candidates with a certain with the dignity that one would expect. Um, and I know from having watched the campaign that even though the results show 9.9% for Bonnie Critchley, you don't get that type of national attention in terms of all the media coverage that she was able to get for herself if you're not capturing a moment. And people from coast to coast to coast were very impressed with the forthrightness and the clarity with which she campaigned and how she had understood the assignment as being the voice of the people and not somebody top down that was going to come to you and tell you what they thought was best for you, but that was going to show up and ask you what you needed. Break out the notepad, as she would mention, make some notes, and alter her platform along the way based on what she was hearing so that she could represent you. There was a lot of people from coast to coast to coast uh, that method of campaigning resonated with them, and they would like to see more of that. So hopefully, um, that 10% coupled with the national attention that she received planted a seed in the minds of a lot of Canadians that maybe we can have politics that is better. Maybe we can look for something other in our candidates, and made us realize that we might be thirsty for a certain level of authenticity and humility in our candidates. And like I said, maybe it's the beginning of a trend that will catch on. So, Sarah Spanier, Bonnie Critchley, and all the others who legitimately campaigned, thank you. The race was better because of you. Absolutely. Uh, the race, you are part of the reason for which the race captured so much national attention. It wasn't only because there was one big name, but it was because there were people um, speaking some very, very big truths in this campaign, and you deserved the attention that you got. Uh, you all deserved better in terms of the result. But considering how overwhelmingly conservative that writing is, uh, you did about you did as good, as well as anyone could expect, given that all the rest of everything stayed true to form as usual. So I hope that these candidates, once they have the time to wind down the campaigns and then get some rest and catch their breath and maybe take a little time to do something for themselves, that um, they will get back involved in their communities in some other way and build on what it is that they have done. Because remember, even Bruce Franjoy uh, didn't get it done on the first time, right? He ran in the previous election and lost, and then just went back to work knocking on doors. And second time, he managed to get it. So hopefully, these some of these other candidates will stay in the game, uh, keep putting their body uh, in the game when we're talking about democracy, something that you do, and you know, might have much more success the next time around. And hopefully, also, they've inspired other people from coast to coast to coast. Because we say this on the show sometimes, right? If you have the time and the inclination at one point and you're sitting there and you're thinking things got to change, somebody should do something, why not you? Run for something. Maybe you are the change you've been waiting for. So maybe some people across Canada saw their example and will be inspired and will be encouraged to run for things. We've had members of the DAMFAM do that, right? I see you, Kid Saucy. I see you, Kid Dan. And I see Mr. Wolf. Mr. Wolf, who was our guest last night, ran for something too at some point. So, why not? That's the beautiful thing about democracy. Everyone can participate. All right. So yes, we're going to have more Pierre for the foreseeable future. Of course, um, we are never going to hear the end of this because he won with such a good margin. Let them enjoy it. It is a legit victory. They get to celebrate. But yeah, we are going to have more Pierre. Hopefully, it will be a situation because it seemed that Prime Minister Mark Carney was not afraid of having Pierre Poilièvre in the House and would probably welcome the juxtaposition because Pierre likes to talk economics a lot, but doesn't really know what he's talking about. So Mark Carney, if Pierre decides to get into some economic tangoing with him, is going to pants Pierre Poilièvre a lot over the next little bit. And if Pierre is going to continue just being this nexus of negativity all the time. Um, as the situation in the United States gets worse, and as we continue to diversify and reorient the economy and maybe score a couple of wins, um, his song and dance is going to get a little tired. Now, of course, that's assuming that everything that Mark Carney wants to get done, he can get done on the schedule that he would like. And pick up a lot of smaller wins along the way that he can keep on point to because every time inflation is going to go up by 0.1%, Pierre is going to pretend to lose mind. Every time unemployment is going to go up by 0.1%, Pierre is going to lose his mind. And he's going to pretend that all of these things are entirely the fault of Mark Carney and are completely detached from anything else that's going on in the world and not affected by the actions of any other players in the world, right? That's what the conservatives like to do. Take something, take it in isolation, talk about that thing, and not talk about how it connects to the real world and how everything else in the world affects it, or could be the cause. And take everything bad and then relate it and make it the fault of just one person. That's what they do. They will be beating that drum over and over and over again. And what we have to hope for is that Mark Carney is able to score enough wins on reorienting the economy along the way that Pierre's consistent negative drumbeat cannot take hold in the consciousness of the majority of us Canadians that are, a little center right, center, a little center left, but like in that middle and not way out in the extremes where Pierre is. And if that can happen, uh, Pierre's, um, for all his antics and shenanigans, he won't break through. But Pierre just has to wait for be negative, made negative, 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 no matter how silly he looks doing it. And then for one thing to legitimately go wrong, either through the fault of the party or just, the universe throws us a curveball of some type. And that could be the issue that can be enough. Right? And for him to go, see, I told you, didn't I predict this? Right? If you predict that something's going to go wrong, eventually something will, and then you can claim you were right. It's not a bold prediction. It doesn't make someone prescient in any way, but you know, it's that's what we're so far. If nothing changes, that's pretty much what we're looking at. And I have a feeling that the cooperation that went into Bill C5 from the side of the Conservative Party is pretty much over now, considering what Pierre has been doing, particularly in the last 2 weeks. Um, you know, unemployment numbers terrible for Mark Carney. The fact that we don't have a deal yet, terrible for Mark Carney. Um, inflation went up 0.1%. Terrible for Mark Carney. This Air Canada strike, terrible for Mark Carney. That's what it's going to be, and we just got to be ready for that, for all the BS that's going to come our way, and we will be here, kits and cubs, to sift through the bovine fecal matter, or I should say, buffalo fecal matter now that will be coming to us from Alberta with the joint tag team of Danielle Smith and Pierre Poilièvre, both of them who are not happy unless they are either being miserable or making other people miserable. It would be nice to not have the toxicity. It would be really nice. But unfortunately, we are not going to get a reprieve from that. It seems that that's what conservatives voters want and like. And they've decided that that's what they are going to service. And so, unfortunately, uh, we have to deal with the fact that it is on the table, but we don't have to eat it. All right. It will be nice to see. It'll be interesting to see over the day how this plays out, whether or not the conservatives just sort of like calmly take the win graciously and move on, or whether or not they'll be the world's worst sore winners. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people spiking, a lot of the influencers and the bots and all that kind of stuff, spiking the football on social media. Ha ha. Cry, liberals, cry. Don't do that. Don't reward them. Just ignore them. Don't even respond to it. It's just bait to get engagement. All right. Moving on from Battle River-Crowfoot. Air Canada strike. Kits and cubs. We had been talking about it, and as you know, we had talked about the possibility of the strike a few months before, and I remember the episode, Mr. Grizzly had gone on a little bit of a tear, a little bit of rant with regards to paying people. And because we had been talking about for a while how the flight attendants only get paid when it's wheels up and not for anything that they do pre-flight or post-flight. A lot of Canadians, from what I'm seeing on social media, weren't aware of that before this strike started. And there's been some polling that came out that indicated that 84% of Canadians were definitely on the side of the workers. You even have the Conservative Party of Canada, who's like not worker friendly, with the exception of having voted for the anti-scab legislation, that none of us can still understand why it is that they did that, because conservatives are always the first person, traditionally the first group, to demand that back to work legislation be introduced before the strike even starts. So this is new positioning for the conservatives, stating that they don't believe they believe that we should be doing better with the unions, and even opposing the move of demanding having the Industrial Relations Board order them back to work. Now, the part of me that likes to see the good in people would assume that, given there are very few people that travel as much on planes as elected officials, given the number of times over the course of a year and their careers that they interact with flight attendants, that they see how hard they work and know the value of their work. And therefore, this is an easy one for them. That's the best one. The more cynical view is that, as we know, the conservatives have been trying to make inroads with unions and trying to displace um, the traditional attachment of unions for either the NDP or the Liberal Party, and seeing the Liberals order them back to work on an issue where we're talking about people who are not getting paid for a certain amount of their work, as being a layup in terms of performatively saying that they support the unions, because what do the conservatives have to lose on this one by doing that? uh, Potentially 3.5 years from an election if this goes full term. And you know eh, it's it's an odd position for those of us who are expecting conservatives to do what they always do. But if you're looking at it very cynically, um, it's true. If they are pretty certain that the government is going to do this move to then pretend that they side with workers in order to get the temporary advantage of this while the liberals take the heat of doing something very unpopular. Um, Air Canada management held a press conference at some point when soon after the strike, uh, that soon after the employees were in a strike position. They held a press conference. They were trying to claim, that a lot of this was the fault of the union, that had been so unreasonable because while they were doing union things like, getting the votes together and making sure, seeing whether or not there would be a strike mandate, a vote for a strike mandate, and all that kind of stuff, that's time that they were not at the table and that they should have been. And tisk, 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 bad union. Um, well, some union members were there and protested that press conference by just standing in front of the stage with signs, not jumping up and down and not yelling anything, just holding up the signs. And it seems that the people from Air Canada uh, abruptly canceled the rest of their presser at that point. And it boggles my mind that Air Canada, uh, when polling indicates that 84% of Canadians are on the side of the workers, because pretty much everyone can understand that it's not okay to have people work and not pay them. This is a nonpartisan issue. Even I'm seeing lots of commentaries like, I don't really support unions, but damn, people should be paid for their work at least. Like, come on, right? That seems to be the attitude. So I'm not quite sure why Air Canada even attempted a PR war with the workers by trying to vilify them, because that is a typical strategy. But in this case, it wasn't going to work. Canadians were just not receptive. They were not going to have it right out the get go. But they tried. And then we had more comments from the Air Canada CEO, Michael Rousseau, talking about the strike. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, what strike? You locked them out before they could strike. And, I had an exchange with someone yesterday. We had differences of opinion on there. He says, but yeah, you have to realize that it's still a strike nonetheless. And it's like, a justifiable strike, but it's a strike. And I'm like, no, things happen in order and in a sequence in time, right? The union voted itself a strike mandate. They were going to act on it, but the employer locked them out before they could. So we never actually got a strike. We got a lockout. So that's the union again in bad faith. Not the union, sorry, the employer again acting in bad faith. And as we mentioned on the show, right, the employer often does not have an incentive to reach a deal at the table. Often they will, particularly like in stuff like, CN Rail, CP Rail, Air Canada, Canada Post, that type of thing, essential services that can have a major impact on the economy if they shut down for a few days. Those employers know that if they just keep saying no, 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 or making unreasonable offers or offers that don't go far as far as they need to do, that they just have to let the threat of strike happen, and then the strike happen, and then at some point the government is going to intervene, uh, assign a mediator, impose binding arbitration, and now the employer doesn't have to do the tough work of actually negotiating. Get somebody else to do it for them, right? Um, and often the employer believes that this will work out better for them than if they had to stay at the table and maybe make more concessions. What might not cost the employer as much if they go that route. So this is a known strategy to just rag the puck and drag your heels until such time as the government inevitably intervenes and intervenes in your favor, as it would seem. And that's what happened here this time. Um, Now, in this particular case, uh, there are some extenuating circumstances in that, given that we are in a trade war and this is tourism season, and tourism is a big driver of our, it's an important driver of our economy, particularly in peak season, which it is now. And, we are um, hitting some speed bumps economically in certain ways as a result of what Donald Trump is doing to us. We probably don't want to hobble that. I mean, we just went through the whole effort of doing the Canada Strong Pass and all that kind of stuff, and asking people not to go to the United States and travel at home so that we can keep that economic activity and economic dollars at home, then not being able to fly, particularly short distance or not shorter or longer distance hauls, but in domestic flights, um, and going to those places and spending the money, and like, that doesn't help us, and it particularly doesn't help us at this time. And a banker and a numbers person being a banker and a numbers person, just nope, we got to take care of the numbers, and therefore we particularly cannot have this strike at this moment. The Liberals under Justin Trudeau were they're the one that brought this in, calling in the Labor Relations Board to try and solve things in a certain way, but they had also allowed these strikes to happen for a week or 2 or 3 before doing that. I think, around the time of the Canada Post one around Christmas, though, they acted a little more swiftly, and I think that might have been the first time that they used it. But they were trying to let the process work itself out. And different leader, different attitude, and again, banker, more numbers, highly intellectual. Justin Trudeau was a little more emotional intelligence. So sometimes you wonder if, uh, let's put it this way: nobody was surprised that a banker would look at the numbers and order them back to work, in that sense. Now, technically, Mark Carney didn't order them back to work. It was the Industrial or Labor Relations Board, but Minister Patty Hajdu did ask them to do that. Oh no, we can't have this. Let's have some binding arbitration. The thing that happened that nobody expected, and I'm glad it did happen, it's that the airline pilots, when they were ordered back to work, said, um, "No, we won't be doing that. Thank you." And I'm I'm not sure whether the employer and the government were ready for that to happen. Well, when they did that, I cheered. It's like, damn right, you got 84% of the public behind you, and it's work you're not getting paid for. Damn straight, defy that order. Hopefully, um, that will be something people pick up on. Now, Liberal government had been getting a lot of heat for having made the decision to do that, but when they invoked Section 107 in order to get the Industrial Labor Relations Board to order them back to work, as binding arbitration would take place. And the union, um, the employer had asked for binding arbitration. The union did not want it. Patty Hajdu asked about it. The union asked Patty Hajdu, the minister, if they could have 24 hours to look it over, and then they did refuse to do that, announced that they would be on strike, and then she went ahead and put the order. Ironically enough, in the Canada Post situation, it is the union that is asking for binding arbitration, and the employer doesn't want it, and there the government is not doing it. I am not sure what the differences are in both situations. Maybe the Canada Post Mail is not as critical as air travel at the moment, and therefore they can let it go. But it's just an interesting situation here that you've got two essential services, and you've got two situations where you have the employer and the employees at an impasse, and our binding arbitration has been requested in both, but for Air Canada, requested from the side of the employer, Canada Post requested from the side of the employees, and um, the opposing side, in each case, refusing to want to go that path, but only in one, when the employer asked for the binding arbitration, did the government of Canada go to the Industrial Labour Relations Board. And I certainly would like someone to ask a question of someone, why yes for one and not yes for the other, because I'd like to know what the reasons for that is. But that does stand out as a very interesting fact when you're looking at the two situations. Uh, the union, the QP component for Air Canada, also got the backing of other unions. The pilots backed the flight attendants, and that was also an interesting aspect because if the flight attendants are not there and the flights are grounded, the pilots can't fly. So that's one thing. So there could be an opportunity for some divide and conquer. Hey, pilots, look what these flight attendants are doing. You know, they're making it so that you can't earn your full job, your full salary. But the pilots nipped that in the bud before it even happened. And then it seems that there was a meeting of various unions throughout the country, and there was a big push there that everyone was going to stand in solidarity, and even some talk, uh, light murmur, but some talk of maybe some wildcat strikes or other people joining. If this is what the mood was going to be, if we were going to order people into binding arbitration and force them back to work for which they do not get paid. Ooh, a lot of the unions were getting together. So, you know, if we're going down that route, buddy, we're going to have a problem. So that was brewing on that side. Yesterday, there was an article that came out here in the Toronto Star with regard to this. Um, and yeah, um, I'm going to read this to you here. This is from Ryan Tumulty, and the article is called "Mark Carney Says He Had No Choice But to End the Air Canada Impasse." And when I see that right off the bat, I had no choice. It immediately brings me back to that debate. A lot of people have seen the clips of the John Turner and Brian Mulroney. I think the 1984 federal election debate where he said, I had no choice. And Brian Mulroney goes, yes, you had a choice, sir. You had a choice. You had the choice to do this. And that's immediately what went through my head. I said, yes, Mark Carney, you did have a choice. You had a choice to put the screws to either the employees or you had the choice to put the screws to the employer to get them back at the table. Yes. You ordered the workers. Yeah, the Industrial Labor Relations Board ordered the workers back, but didn't order anything of the employer. I mean, you did have another choice, like maybe threatening Air Canada's operating license if they didn't get back to the table to negotiate in good faith, right? You don't want to pay people for their work? Well, maybe you shouldn't operate as an airline. How do you like that? You had choices. You had choices. So I don't believe in the I had no choice. This is someone looking at it from one perspective. Oh my God, you know, this was going to have such an impact on the economy. I had no choice. I had to do it. Yeah, you maybe didn't have the choice to take action or not, but you did have the choice to which side you were going to put the screws. And you didn't choose the side that 84% of Canadians were supporting. And that's what led a lot of people to say, hell, gee, leave it to a banker to support the employer. But let's read the article. Prime Minister Mark Carney said his government had no choice but to impose binding arbitration on Air Canada flight attendants this weekend because negotiations were not ending the dispute. Quote, it was the judgment of both the union and the company that they were at an impasse. That's not my judgment. It's their judgment, the Prime Minister said ahead of a meeting with Premier Doug Ford on Monday morning. Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu stepped into the dispute Saturday with an order calling on the Industrial Relations Board to end the strike and imposed binding arbitration on Air Canada and CUPE, the flight attendants union. Air Canada attempted to resume flights on Sunday evening, but flight attendants have so far refused to return to work, and the Industrial Relations Board declared the strike illegal Monday. Carney said the labor dispute was too big a disruption for government to ignore. Quote, "We are in a situation where there's literally hundreds of thousands of Canadians and visitors to our country that are being disrupted by this action," he said. "I urge both parties to resolve this as quickly as possible." Um, so basically, disruption too big to ignore, hundreds of thousands of Canadians and visitors, but that's a situation at pretty much all times in this Canada, right? When would there be an airline strike that wouldn't affect hundreds of thousands of Canadians and visitors to our country? Right? This is not the cynic in me goes, sorry, not good enough as a reason or rationale. The one I gave, you know, we're in an economic situation with the United States and we need to maximize tourism at this time. We really can't afford that one. I could see someone making a case for, but strictly, well, there's hundreds of thousands of people that are being disrupted by this action, but that would be the case at any time that there's a strike. That doesn't make this one special enough to drop the hammer like this. And again, I'm not sure how the Industrial Relations Board declared the strike illegal on Monday, given that there was no strike. It's a lockout. Why did they not declare the lockout illegal? So everything is being framed as if they went on strike. And like I said, I like to believe that the order in which things happen in time matters. Yes, they intended to strike, but they didn't get a chance. So why is it that the strike that did not exist was declared illegal and not the lockout, which is what was in effect at the time? Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm seeing it a little strange, but I did not see it as that there was a strike. I saw that there was a threat of a strike, then a lockout, then a return to work order was imposed, and the union decided to defy it. And the union then, if I remember correctly, had even announced that they were planning to defy it in court. So they were going to take the return to work order in court. And in many cases, return to work orders have gone to court and the employee has lost. But a return to work order for people who are not getting paid for the work that they do might be different. Might be different. Um, According to Catherine Tunney here at CBC News, the Air Canada Flight Attendants Union says it will risk jail time to strike for a better deal. They will risk fines, but it will not order its members back to work despite the Federal Labor Relations Board calling the strike illegal. Quote, "We will not be returning to the skies this afternoon," Canadian Union of Public Employees National President Mark Hancock said at a news conference on Monday. Quote, "If it means folks like me are going to jail, then so be it. If it means our union being fined, then so be it." The union and Air Canada were meeting with a mediator on Monday evening, a CUPE spokesperson told CBC News in a brief telephone interview. No further details were provided. Hours earlier, in a decision released on Monday morning, the Canada Industrial Relations Board said the union's defiance of a back-to-work order over the weekend is unlawful. Well, I guess the union were perfectly happy to test that theory in court. It called on the union, called on the union to, quote, "cease all activities that declare or authorize an unlawful strike of its members and to direct the members of the bargaining unit to resume the performance of their duties by noon Monday," which the union disregarded, and appropriately so. The directive, written by CRB Vice Chairperson Jennifer Webster, also calls on some 10,000 flight attendants themselves to resume their duties immediately. Failure to comply with the board's orders can result in significant fines and penalties. Despite that, Hancock made it clear that the flight attendants will remain on strike as they seek better pay and changes to how they are paid before a plane takes off. Quote, "None of us want to be in defiance of the law," he told reporters. "Our members want a solution here, but that solution has to be found at the bargaining table." Air Canada CEO Michael Rousseau called the union's stance, quote, "disappointing" on BNN Bloomberg. "Oh, why won't you roll over? I'm so disappointed," and said that the airline hopes to resume service on Tuesday. Federal Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu called on both sides to put, quote, water in the wine and get back to the table. Quote, that's what bargaining is about, she told CBC's Power and Politics. Quote, getting the best deal you can, knowing you're not going to have all of your needs satisfied either on the employer side or the union side. The Montreal-based company estimates 500,000 customers' flights have been canceled. CUPE's National Secretary Treasurer Candice Rennick said striking workers feel for those passengers dealing with chaotic travel. Quote, we deeply, deeply regret the impact this is having on your families and on your lives, she said on Monday. Our fight is not with you. We do not want to be here. The CIRB ruling comes after a hearing on Sunday and a frazzled weekend for travelers. Flight attendants walked off the job early Saturday morning, leading to hundreds of flights being grounded. Less than 12 hours after the strike and lockout took effect, Ottawa intervened. Hajdu invoked the contentious Section 107 of the Canada Labour Code, asking the CIRB, that's the Canada Industrial Relations Board, to send the two sides to binding arbitration and to order the airline and its flight attendants back to work in the meantime to, quote, maintain or secure industrial peace. The union said in a statement Sunday that its members would remain on strike to find the back to work order. CUPE has accused the Liberal government, quote, of rewarding Air Canada's refusal to negotiate fairly by giving them exactly what they wanted. It also pointed to what it would called a, quote, staggering conflict of interest involving the chair of the Canadian Industrial Relations Board, Maryse Tremblay, who, according to her LinkedIn profile, served as legal counsel for Air Canada from 1998 to 2004. Yeah, they might have. In one way, you can say that she would be a good choice because she does understand the dynamics at Air Canada, but she did work for Air Canada. Optically, that is that's a little difficult to swallow. Hajdu said it was clear on Friday the two sides had reached an impasse. Quote, I brought all of the parties together in a joint meeting and I said, for the love of the country, let's get a deal. Hajdu said they needed a, quote, tool to move forward, and that's exactly what arbitration is. On Monday, Prime Minister Mark Carney said it's important that flight attendants are, quote, compensated equitably at all times and called for a quick resolution. Quote, we are in a situation where literally hundreds of thousands of Canadians and visitors to our country are being disrupted by this action, Carney said, as I mentioned before. Air Canada and CUPE have been negotiating a new contract for flight attendants after the previous 10-year contract expired in March. Among the chief sticking points are wages and ground pay, which covers the work that flight attendants do before flight takes off and after deplaning. And there's lots of comments there again about, gee, the union is not very smart, not playing the long game. The union tried the long game thing the last time they had a collective bargaining thing. They agreed to a 10-year deal, thinking that that would provide them security. But then COVID happened, then rising inflation happened. And by the time the 10 years were up, well, they fell behind everyone. So doing the long-term play didn't work for them last time, because once that long-term play was over and they had been being paid less than they needed to because of all these things like COVID and rising inflation, the employer still said, yeah, thank you for giving us that peace of mind, that labor peace for 10 years that somehow economically disadvantaged you because the universe threw curveballs your way. But when it comes to more, nah. So being the good little boys and girls who agreed to a long-term deal for the sake of labor peace last time ended up with no reward for them when it came time to negotiate this time, given the change in reality. So why would they be uh, docile and compliant this time, if after having done that last time, this is the thanks they get? That that attitude makes no sense to me. That's again taking the current situation away from the history of it, looking at it in a vacuum. It's like, wow, comes a strike. Wow, you decide you're going to inconvenience people. Wow, you're not thinking about your long term. Okay, now put that in the context of the last time they agreed to a 10-year deal and got screwed with it. And then because they agreed to the 10-year deal and didn't complain then, thought that when it would come time to renegotiate, well, everybody would just use their common sense. We'll say, well, of course you need more because, yeah, COVID and inflation and whatnot. Sure, we'll fix that. And instead have somebody go, no. Well, when you add those components, then all of a sudden, looking at this one particular incident in a vacuum, detached from everything else that happened before and all the other realities that happened in the world in the meantime, uh, You can see how that's limited. You can see that how that will not help you get to the best result. And that's the exact same strategy I was talking to you earlier that the conservatives use when they're criticizing Mark Carney and everything liberal. Right? It's an easy go-to tactic, I guess. But everything, it's good to look at things in isolation and to take, pick it up and see, okay, this is what it looks like, whatnot. But then you got to put it back down into the context because everything exists in a context. You can't detach situations from their context and expect to come up with a good path forward or to make an argument that's going to make sense. Right. So, interesting here. Haidu said her government is launching an investigation into deeply disturbing allegations of unpaid work. This did not get a lot of press at the time when everybody was talking about the back to work order. So the government is wants to launch a probe into that. Quote, I think we have to understand the extent of this unpaid work, she said. Should we find that there are loopholes, we shall seek the appropriate remedy. The issue of ground pay is far from new. Both the Conservatives and NDP introduced bills last parliamentary session that would have changed the Labour Code to ensure flight attendants are paid for pre and post flight duties. Both bills died when Parliament was dissolved earlier this year. The union is also seeking a wage increase, arguing flight attendants' pay has been outpaced by inflation. Air Canada has argued its proposal would make its flight attendants the best compensated in Canada, but I believe that QP had mentioned for their starting staff, given the number of hours that they do work and the number of hours for which they are compensated, still come out below the poverty line, even with that increase. So, again, it's easy to say we gave it 38% offer on total compensation, but if 38% offer on total compensation still leaves junior flight attendants living below the poverty line, 38 is not enough. We're talking about professionals on a plane who are there to save your life should something go wrong. Nobody should be paid below poverty level wages. But if your job is to save lives, come on. Right? This is why they're not winning in the court of public opinion. Everybody can understand this. This is not hard to explain to people. Unbelievable. So yes, um, Chris Roberts, who is the Director of Social and Economic Policy at the Canadian Labour Congress, said last week that the board, quote, is simply not the stenographer for the government. The Employers Association, federally regulated employers, Transportation Communications, or the FETCO, criticized QP's actions and accused it of normalizing the idea that if you don't like a decision, you can simply ignore it. Oh, again, see, this is the whole part of vilifying the worker. Oh, you don't like to be ordered back to work and you can just ignore it. That's not good. Okay. And again, as we mentioned, and if you don't want to negotiate, then you just drag your heels until the federal government calls in the arbitrator because you simply ignored your duty to negotiate in good faith. See, if you're having a problem with the union ignoring the back to work order, you should also have a problem with the employer not negotiating in good faith so we can get to the point of binding arbitration so that they don't have to do the work. You have to have a problem with both, not just one. FETCO President Danielle Safayeni called the move, quote, a reckless path that erodes trust in the labor relations system, weakens our global reputation, and undermines economic stability at a moment of heightened geopolitical uncertainty. And so, why is it the entirety of the responsibility up to the employees to fix that? Is what I would respond to FETCO President Danielle Safayeni. Explain to me why 100% of the burden of fixing that, or 100% of the burden to make sure that that trust in the labor relations system uh, has to be maintained solely by the employees and not also the employer, right? You have to look at when people are making comments, which side of the debate do they represent, and how are they shaping their message to get their point across? What's in that message, but what are they working very hard to exclude or not say? Because often it is in that which people are working very hard to not say that you get the real message, and you start to get to understand the color and the texture of what's going on here. Now, I am happy to report that there has been a breakthrough, and I noticed this just before the show, but according to CTV News, um, Air presenting its flight attendants have reached a tentative deal to end a strike that began on Saturday morning. The airline said it will be gradually beginning. Sorry, let's try that again. The airline said it will gradually begin operations Tuesday. The two sides met through the night with the federal mediator before reaching a tentative agreement that will be brought to the members of the Air Canada component of the Canadian Union of Public Employees. Quote, "Your right to vote on your wages was preserved," the union said in a post on its website announcement to the end of the strike. The union also said it must advise that members, quote, "must fully cooperate with resumption of operations." Air Canada said the first flights are scheduled for Tuesday evening, but cautioned that the return to full regular service may require 7 to 10 days as aircraft and crew are out of position, and that some flights will continue to be canceled until the schedule is stabilized. Quote, "Only customers with confirmed bookings whose flights are shown as operating should go to the airport," the airline said. Air Canada said it will offer options to those with canceled flights, including a full refund or receiving a credit for future travel. It will also offer to rebook customers on other airlines where possible. The federal government intervened in the strike on Saturday morning, invoking Section 107, blah, blah, blah. The union and the order was defied. So we have a situation here where the workers were ordered back to work, and it seemed that the employer was quite happy to put its hands behind his head and feet on the desk and say, "Well, we'll just let the binding arbitration do the work while they order you back to work, and the company keeps on making money while you still don't get paid for certain parts of your job until whatever binding arbitration comes along." And when the employees said, "No, hell no, we ain't going back," well, you might be able to take into court. "Oh, wait a minute, we got a deal." Huh. Interesting how quickly the employer was interested in becoming reasonable when they realized that the employees would not accept the order, and that there might have to be a whole court case that was open in order to have that happen, or that they might have to make the very unpopular move of fining these employees or maybe sending them to jail, these employees that had 84% support among the Canadian public. Yeah, that would have been a terrible look for Air Canada, now wouldn't have? So it's amazing how quickly the employer managed to come to the table and decide to be reasonable once their planned course of action, we'll just lay back, drag our heels, and let the federal government impose binding arbitration. That'll fix it for us. We don't have to do the work. Once the employees said, "No, we will not be doing that this time. Thank you very much." Way to go. Way to go, QP. Way to go, flight attendants. Unions across Canada. Take a tip. Take a tip. This might be the way to go. If you don't obey, yeah, there might be fines and whatnot, but the service is still not being provided. And then if they're going to start charging you and fining you and throwing you in jail, that creates a huge public relations nightmare for the employer and the government. Do they really want that? Do they? Sometimes you got to put the question to them. It was almost a, "Do you feel lucky, punk? Do you?" from the union to the employer. And the employer came to the table and suddenly decided that they were going to be reasonable. Funny how that happens. All right, kids and cubs. Before we go, a little bit of news about Canadians who make us proud. Um, as we had mentioned, um, there was, I wish I can remember the name of that. There was a lot of track and field events going on over the last little while. I think we talked about them on a show. There was a Diamond League event that was going on, but then there was also, I think, the Americas Championship. I'm not sure if it was all the Americas. Um, I don't know what NACAC stands for anymore, so I'm going to have to look at that up. I'm sorry, Kits and Cups, because it escaped my mind, and it's definitely not the National Association for College Admission Counseling. It's the North American, Central American, and Caribbean Athletics Championships. And Team Canada has been mining the medals like crazy. Just incredible results here for them. So let's take a little look here. Um, According to Athletics Canada, Team Canada took a weekend trip to the Bahamas and are bringing home lots of great shiny souvenirs. Canada's top distance runners battled it out at the Canadian Half Marathon Championships, and the Diamond League had its own Canadian content with Olympic champs competing. It was a busy week of track and field events with some of the next generation of Canadian talent showing off both here and abroad. You can delay back to school shopping for a few minutes and dive into our recap of the weekend that was and the week ahead. Podiums aplenty at the NACAC Championships. Team Canada rolled into the 2025 NACAC Track and Field Championships with one eye on the podium and one eye looking ahead to the World Athletics Championships. I think they're going to be taking place in Tokyo relatively soon. With both continental medals and potential qualification standards on the line, this year's team shone. Sprint superstars Jerome Blake and Aaron Brown took gold in the 100 meters and 200 meters respectively. Blake's 100-meter time of 9.95 seconds was good for a championship record. Then they teamed up with Brendan Rodney and Eliezer Ajibi to win the men's 4x100-meter relay in a championship record time of 35.05 seconds. Sarah Mitten defended her shot put title in dominant fashion, throwing 20.02 meters to claim gold in the Bahamas. Foster Malik and Charles Philibert Tsipoto finished 1-2 in the men's 1,500 meters to claim the top two spots on the podium. Malik finished in 3 minutes 37 seconds, 0.54, and Charles Philibert Tsipoto finished in 3 minutes 40 seconds and 57 hundredths. Tatiana Aholu scored her first senior international medal, winning silver in the women's 100-meter hurdles in a time of 13.01 seconds. Grace Featherstone flew to silver in the women's 3,000-meter steeplechase, crossing the line in 9 minutes 43 seconds 91, while Erin All stormed to a silver medal in the men's 3,000-meter steeplechase. Julia Tunks earned bronze in the women's discus, launching her best throw of 56.78 meters for the win. And Lucia Stafford won bronze in the women's 1,500 meter with her time of 4 minutes 11 seconds and 11 hundredths. Jillian Weir won bronze with her best hammer throw of 69.8 meters to step on the podium. And Reagan Yee got a bronze medal in the women's 5,000 meter, finishing strong in 15 minutes 39 seconds 56 hundredths. In Poland, at the Diamond League event, Olympic and world champion Cameron Rogers won the women's hammer throw event held on Saturday with a throw of 75.39 meters. Ethan Katzberg podiumed as well, finishing second in the men's hammer throw, launching a best throw of 79.3. While the women's and men's hammer throw events are contested at Diamond League meets, they are not part of the series' official program. Savannah Sutherland, who, if you were paying attention to the Olympics in Paris, sort of came out of nowhere and made the final in one of the 400-meter races. Can't remember if it was 400 hurdles or the straight 400 because she runs both. But here at this meet, she was on the official program and finished sixth in the women's 400-meter hurdles in the time of 55.13 seconds. And then we had the 2025 Canadian Half Marathon Championships, and there was a head-to-head battle between Canada's two fastest marathoners over the last 2 kilometers of the race. Rory Linkletter edged Canadian record holder Cam Levins for the men's title, crossing the line in a time of 1 hour and 3 minutes, and Levins finished 1 second behind when Ben Preisner rolled in for bronze at 1 minute 3 and 15. So the top 3 positions in a half marathon finished within 15 seconds of each other. Wow. Natasha Wodak added another national title to her long racing resume, clocking in a time of 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 40 seconds to win the women's crown. Florence Caron won silver in 1:11:57, and Lanny Merchant took the bronze in 1:13:15. Only 17 100ths of a second difference between first and second place in the women's half marathon. This year's edition of the Canadian Half Marathon Championships were held as part of the Service Edmonton Marathon Weekend, with the Alberta capital serving up great conditions and dedicated fans along the race route. And going on as well, there are the Junior Pan American Games, and the athletic programs started yesterday on that. So it'll be interesting to see. Those are taking place in Asuncion in South America. And I wish, I'm so terrible. I know what country Asuncion is in, Paraguay, and it was escaping my mind for a second there. But yes, so some good results there. And who else we have? And of course, the Canada Games, Summer Games are going on, and the athletics program starts today. There are over 4,000 athletes, coaches, and managers competing at the Canada Summer Games in total. And the athletics program starts today and runs through Saturday on the 23rd, and all of that is being streamed on CBC Sports. So please take the time to check that out and cheer for your Canadian athletes. Also, when we're talking about Canadians who make us proud, tennis player Gabriela Dabrowski. Again, the Canadians are on a tear again. We won the Hopman Cup, which is team tennis. When you're the best male player that you can field and the best female player that you can field, and the male player plays a match, the female player plays a match, and then they play mixed doubles and they play against other countries, and whoever emerges the best from that wins the title. So Felix Auger-Aliassime and Bianca Andreescu won the Hopman Cup in July, and then Leila Fernandez won the 500 level tournament in Washington, D.C. a couple weeks later. Then Victoria Mboko won the 1,000 level tournament in a Canadian Open tournament in Montreal, being the first Canadian to win the championship at the Montreal site. Bianca Andreescu won it a couple of years ago, 6 years ago. She won it at the Toronto site. So we had all that going on. And then over the course of the weekend, Gabriela Dabrowski, who is, a doubles player, a doubles specialist, with her partner, Erin Routliffe, who represents New Zealand, they won the title in Cincinnati, and that title is also a 1,000 level tournament. And the reason I mention them is that Grand Slams, there are 4 of them, and there are 2,500 points if you win. And then there are tournaments where you get 1,000 points if you win. And I think there are only like 9 of them on the calendar throughout the year. So they're very, very important. And then there are certain number of 500s and 250s where you earn more, and then there are other levels lower. So a 1,000 tournament it is a big deal. When Victoria Mboko won that, just coming out of the blue and beating 4 Grand Slam champions along the way, it's an incredibly impressive feat. The only thing bigger than a 1,000 event is a Grand Slam. So yeah, Gabriela Dabrowski, and so they're in picture with their trophies. Very nice to see them there. And it's good for Gabriela Dabrowski because I believe, if I remember correctly, last year she had to take a little bit of time off tour to deal with breast cancer, but didn't leave this, kept on coming back and trying to play along the way and trying to maintain her ranking and all that. And slipped a little bit in the rankings. She was I think a number 3 or number 4 in the world in doubles at one point and slipped to about 11th in the world some there and, missing a lot of tournaments now and then, appearing for others. Um, Sometimes, often losing in the first or second round rather than going all the way and that type of stuff. But just before the US Open, the last Grand Slam of the year at a 1,000 tournament, it seems that she's back and a very convincing win in the final as well, which was good for them. So, yeah, together, Dabrowski and Routleff have won 5 titles, including the US Open, so a Grand Slam together, and the WTA finals. That's at the end of the year. They bring I think the 8 best doubles teams, and they have a tournament among them to see who's the best, and they won that too. Routleff, Gabrielle Dabrowski's partner, has been the number 1 doubles player in the world at some point in the course of their partnership, and Gabriela Dabrowski reached number 3 there. And they defeated Gu Hanyu and Alexandra Panova 6-4, 6-3 to win the Cincinnati Open Women's Doubles title. So there you go. And finally, there's something out there called Global Jam that I did not know what it is. It's a basketball tournament, 5-on-5, for people who are under 23. And it's not necessarily national teams, it's just the best teams. So some of them are national teams, sometimes some are other types of teams, I guess, that are used to playing together. And Team Canada women won the gold medal at the Global Jam, defeating the United States. So again, just so much success for our Canadian athletes out there, making us so proud. And there is one more thing, I believe, because at the the Junior Pan American Games, we also had a gold medal thanks to Riel Bon and Melina Corriveau, who won gold in women's trampoline gymnastics, marking Canada's first gold medal at the Junior Pan American Games in Asuncion. And we have a couple of images of them too for you kids and cubs to show you. And there we go. We'll bring them. So that's them in the air. That's them hugging each other once they saw that they won. You can see the number 1 there on the scoreboard. And that's them getting their medals on the podium and smiling because clearly they must have played our song. Do, 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 do. So Canadians making this proud, left, right, and center all over the place. Figured we should end the show with a little good news, considering we started with some bad news. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. And so please tell your peeps and poops all about us when you share our content with some words of your own. It really means the world to us. And lately online, a lot of you have been doing that. And you have been doing it with some really, really nice compliments. Not only like, this is great, you should listen to this, but with like more detail, like specifically what it is that you like, not just this generic, this is great. And when we see them, we're always delighted and very surprised and grateful. But that you appreciate our work in the way that you do. Really, it warms our hearts. And particularly the more recent interviews that we had with Sarah Spanier and Bonnie Critchley on the web. I've seen a lot of people sharing them and saying, that you need to see this interview. This is a really great interview. The responses are great. It's really informative. The hosts ask great questions, or the hosts had a great discussion with it. And I am. We put a lot of work when we have our guests to do, research and come up with a list of questions, and you know try to get you information that you might want to see, or to bring out facets of their personality, or or to talk about issues in a way that may not be the typical way, or more in depth than we get on regular short spot interviews. And it seems that it is resonating with you as an audience, and you are letting us know. And that like I said, given the care and the attention that we put in on trying to put good interviews and have a good product, that you have noticed it, and that you tell us, but not only us, but tell the world. Uh, Again, means the world to us. The best compliments that we can get is when you think that our content is good enough to share and put your own name to it. So thank you. This is why we do it, and we're glad that we're glad to get the feedback from you that we are indeed succeeding in our mission. So lots of gratitude coming from this beaver this morning. Thank you. Kids and cubs, we like to help you. So if you are busy and on the go, and sometimes, you don't have the time to watch us, but you want to keep abreast of what's going on in the world. Well, you don't have to worry about that, because thanks to the Ray Girl, you see, we are portable and you can take us with you, because we don't only have this video cast, but we have an ears only audio cast. When we're done the show, we make a podcast version out of it. So if you have to be on the go, well, all you have to do is download us and then pop us in your ears. And that way you can do all the things you need to do and keep informed at the same time. And if you would like to access that, you can scan this QR code that's been made available to us through the generous contribution of the Ray Girl. And if you're listening, you can go to True North Eager Beaver at, sorry, let's try that again, because I was about to give you our email address, podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, zip right into your favorite podcast feed. You don't even have to go looking for us, because we come to you. We're just a podcast looking at a DAMFAM, asking them to listen to us. Love it. Fans of I think it is Notting Hill might recognize that little play. Kids and cubs, we really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Now, if you would like to help us, well, you can do that, because you can help us with the algorithm by making your way down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. That QR code that just appeared in the corner will bring you there. And kids Elaine and Cassie are certainly beckoning you to come down, take a trip. And once you're there, well, why not get freaky and smash with our buttons? We have 3 of them for you: like, share, and subscribe. Just click them, as 21,300 of you have so far. It's wonderful. We keep growing, and that makes us very, very happy. So you're tuning into our shows, you're tuning into our specials. Uh, you're sharing our content, you're helping to promote us, all the things that you're doing. You are spoiling us, kids and cubs, and we like it. So keep it coming. So like, share, and subscribe. And if you're watching now, remember, if you smash now, you don't have to remember to do it before you leave. If you would like to help us in other ways, kids and cubs, well, um, it may be a beaver lodge, but we still got to cover the mortgage and pay the rent here. So if you would like to help us with that, we would also be very grateful with a contribution to the Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund. And as I'm doing this, if I do not want to be accused of being guilty of drinking out of an empty cup, I actually should put a little water in that cup there, where every day we fight the scourge that is dry beaver. There you go. We had a little bit of a case of dry beaver last night as I was ending the show after about 4 hours of talking. So your contributions came in handy yesterday. See? Or I should say very, very early this morning. Yes, we had the Daily Beaver early morning show by the time the by-elections results show is over. But yes, if you would like to do your part to keep your favorite beaver moist, because a moist beaver is a happy beaver, a little contribution to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund would be greatly appreciated. Um, your help with the costs that we incur to bring the show to you makes it so that we can keep doing what we are doing, and makes it such that we've been able to be on for 5 seasons because without your contributions we are entirely self-financing. Right? There's a lot of people who like to claim that we get paid by the liberal government to do this, but we don't. Unfortunately, it's out of our own pockets. So, any help, we are entirely funded by you, and and by what we put into it. So, if you would like to help us with that, we would be very grateful. Now, if you are doing the Buy Canadian thing, kits and cubs, and that's very important to you, we have a way to help you do that as well. truenortheagerbeaver at gmail.com is our email address. And if you send your contribution via bank transfer, it's a win-win-win situation, because it's Canadian bank to Canadian bank, at least for Canadian viewers. If you're one of our American friends who are watching, this doesn't apply to you, unfortunately, in terms of Canadian to Canadian institution. But for the Canadians who are watching, it's Canadian to Canadian. So 100% Canadian transaction. That means that you bypass the US CE Tech Bros. And, if you, because they take a cut and then they use some of that cut to offer a tribute to Donald Trump, who's trying to annex us. So if you would like to bypass them, that's another win. And when you do that, well, since they don't take a cut, we get 100% of your donation. So win, win, win. It's a good way to go. So if you are able to give us a contribution that way, we would be very grateful. But that email address is also where you can write to us to talk to us. Because as we keep on saying, if you're not able to contribute financially, it doesn't matter, because the gifts of your participation and attention are the ones that matter the most to us. And we do want to hear from you. So use that email address, write to us, let us know what you think about the show, good, bad, or ugly. If you have any guest recommendations or kits and cubs, if you or you happen to know someone that has a very small home-based business like bookkeeping or something like that, but they can take clients from coast to coast to coast or throughout their province, or if you're running a community event that you got going on and you want to advertise a little bit, uh, you know, come our way. Come see us. We have various ways that people can advertise, and if we have something that we can do for absolutely every budget. If you are looking to get the word out about what you do, let's say you're at home and you're an artist and you have like an Etsy thing where you have your art available that people can buy. You're an amateur writer, you're self-publisher, and you want to let people know about your book. You're an artist, you're a musician, and you have a new collection out, and you would like to bring it to a wider audience. These are all things that we can help with, right? It doesn't have to be a big company and a big campaign. We can find other ways. And, we want to be community based and we like to help. So if any of you in the DAMFAM or people that you love have a small home based business, or, are emerging artist or something like that, and just looking to broaden your appeal a little bit, contact us. Well, as a let's make a deal. And I'm sure that we can find something for every budget, and we would like to help you that way. And of course, in turn, that does help us. So thank you so much. Please let us know all of your suggestions, truenortheagerbeaver at gmail.com. And if you want to reach us via our socials, at trueeager, at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, on the Jitter, on Facebook, our original home on the web. And if you happen to be listening right here on the YouTube channel, either live with the best damn fam in all of podcasting, or at your own convenience, right down here in the comments section, leave us a little something. We do read everything that you sent us, even though we're not necessarily able to answer everyone. But we do read it, and everything you send us, whether it's a financial contribution or whether it's a written contribution, does get rolled back into the show to make it better because this is your show too, kids and cubs. We're trying to create some community here, and we don't want to be just the ones talking at you. We want to give you a little, if there's things that you like or you want to see or you're interested in, yeah, we have very broad interests and whatnot. If we can try to work it in somehow and find an angle for it, we definitely will. Right. So we like this sort of interactive way that you tell us what you're looking for, and we try to find some ways to bring it to you that is consistent with our mission. And sometimes sometimes we just run out of ideas. So having some ideas come from you comes in handy now and then. We can't think of everything, so all of your suggestions are more than welcome, and we do want to hear from you. So please do not be shy. And also, if you got questions, right? Yeah, there's a question that you have about politics, or even a question about how we run the show, ask us. We like to show how the sausage is made, and we're happy to talk about what it is we do, how we do it, what motivates us, and all that type of stuff. So do not. There is no question that is too silly. Uh, don't be ashamed to ask any of them. Uh, just ask away. We do like to hear from you, and we do like questions. Okay. All right, because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs. Hey, if you live in Battle River-Crowfoot and you went to vote, no matter who you voted for, you did your duty. We got to honor that. So take a couple of days off. You earned that. If you ran, take more than a couple of days off because that's a big slog. Particularly if you ran for the first time and you chose to run for a first time in a federal election. Gee, you didn't make it easy on yourself. You took the hardest task possible. So take a couple of days off. You earned it. If you happen to be living in Alberta, though, um, there is a movement to get a question on a citizens' initiative ballot that has to do with keeping Alberta within Canada. Mr. Thomas Lukasik is spearheading this along with a whole bunch of other engaged Canadians with a group called Forever Canadian. And Danielle Smith, well, the law requires that 294,000 about signatures be put on that petition in order to make that question one that would go on the ballot. Of course, we know Danielle Smith is a little duplicitous and might try to find some ways to invalidate some signatures. So we'll probably need a little more. Dave Gray from Alberta and very much involved, and these movements trying to help and support them, says that he would be surprised if the petition gets fewer than 1 million signatures, which makes me really happy because that's definitely numbers too great to manipulate. But we can't take the chance. So if you live in Alberta and you want to donate to Forever Canadian, you want to pledge a donation, you want to pledge a signature if they haven't gotten around to where you are, if you want to become a canvasser because they still need more, because the rules for this are the canvassers have to be approved, they have to become official, and all the signatures need to be witnessed. So you can't sign this online. You have to go. The canvasser has to come to you, or you have to go to one of these pop-ups that keep on. And there's a lot of them throughout the province to show up and line up and sign up the signature. Sign up. Sorry, let's try that again. Line up and show up to sign. No, I wanted to say line up and show up to put your signature on the petition. Ah, that's Mr. Gray. He made the mistake of saying position instead of petition. Now it got stuck in my head last night. So yes, we do need you to sign that to put that on the ballot, because not only does it make the question on the ballot a positive question about keeping Alberta and Canada rather than a negative and divisive one, but if the question does get approved, it does put a 5-year stop on any similar type question being put on the ballot. And maybe those will be 5 years will be enough time to get rid of Danielle Smith and that whole toxic movement, so it doesn't come up again for a good long while. So do your duty. I said do your duty. I did not say do this time. And make yourself seen and visible so that you can put your name on the position. And of course, I did it again. I'm stuck now on the petition. And if you are able to donate and volunteer or become a canvasser, again, many hands make light work. So please help with that, we'd be very grateful. Also, there's a provincial by-election, I'd almost forgotten about that, coming along in Manitoba. And again, I keep on misremembering. I know it's Spruce something, but I keep on misremembering the name. Oh my God, I'm so terrible. I should remember this. And now I have to look it up because I got started down the path and I got to finish it. Uh, Spruce Woods by-election. I believe it's August 26th. And there's been some news from that already here. Apparently, I did not know this, but since we're doing it, from Bartley Kives of CBC, PC by-election candidate apologizes for 2020 Twitter post professing hate for unions. Ooh, the progressive conservative candidate in Manitoba Spruce Woods by-election is apologizing for a 2020 Twitter post where she professes hate for labor unions. Colleen Robbins is running for the PCs in the by-election to replace former PC MLA Grant Jackson, who resigned his southwestern Manitoba seat in March to make a successful run for the House of Commons as the conservative MP for Brandon Souris. Over the past weekend, a series of old posts Robbins deleted from Twitter were collected in a Reddit thread. In one of the posts dating back to the Ontario teachers' strike in 2020, Robbins said, quote, "This is actually why I hate unions." Okay, so she wasn't very subtle. She actually said, "I hate unions." In an interview on Monday, Robbins said hate is a strong word she should have not used in a post, even if she was upset about the strike at the time. Quote, "There was going to be a lot of children out of school again, and I was angry, but using that type of word for me is very strong because I don't like using that type of word for anyone," Robbins said while campaigning near Alexander west of Brandon. Quote, "I don't hate anybody or anything. I believe in collective bargaining. I believe that we should be at the table listening to each side. I believe in all of that." Robbins also said her husband received some distressing medical news around the time she made the post, but she said she must apologize nonetheless. And the article does show the tweet, so I will show it to you so that you see here. 2020 to 208, so that's February 8th, 2020, replying to a comment by Senator Denise Batters. Unsurprising. "This is actually why I hate unions. Our school buses are limited to so many liters per day. We only have co-op gas in our town. Soon rural kids won't get to school. Just like Ontario teachers greedy don't care about anyone but themselves." So she apologized for saying she hate unions. She did not apologize, however, for saying that teachers are greedy and don't care about anyone else but themselves. Hmm. Maybe maybe the apology should have been a little more thorough. Just putting it out there. She said two other Twitter posts included the Reddit thread have been taken out of context. In 2021, Robbins replied, "Sold," to a post about a U.S. senator musing about buying Canada. Ah. She said that post took place in the context of a national controversy about Keystone XL pipeline. Quote, "I wanted that oil sold and going to the US," she said. "That's why I believe that post was all about nothing about Canada itself as being sold. I'm a very patriotic person. I love Canada and I will not ever support selling Canada to the US." Uh-huh. Okay. In a response to a Donald Trump announcement about placing tariffs on Canadian goods earlier this year, Robbins replied on what's now called X that, quote, "I am sorry you have to do this to us. I thought our countries were friends." Robbins said she was not being kind to the US president. Quote, "I was being sarcastic and saying stop being an ass and work with us," she said. Mhm. Okay. Robbins is running in Spruce Woods against Ray Berthollet and the NDP and Liberal Stephen Reed. All three candidates are slated to take part in a debate slated for the hamlet of Spruce Woods near Shiloh on Wednesday. So, hey, if democracy is something that you do, and if you are in Spruce Woods, go to that debate on Wednesday. On Monday, Berthollet promised to improve part of Highway 2 south of Souris, something Jackson petitioned the former NDP government to do when he was the PC MLA. While the PCs have held Spruce Woods since the constituency was created in 2011, the NDP government made a flurry of funding announcements in southwestern Manitoba prior to the by-election call. Advanced polls in the by-election are open until August 25th, and by-election day is August 26th. So there we go. Lots of democracy to do, kids and cubs. Remember, kids, words of wisdom. Well, I kind of gave them a little earlier today, but yeah. Um, Don't get pulled in to the bait. The Pierre one, ha ha, cry libs cry. Don't get pulled into that. Just let it happen and live your best life. Live your best life. Don't engage with that. There's no point. They want you to be angry. They want you to cry. They want you to be devastated. They need to believe that that's the reality, that we're all at home in the fetal position in the corner, eating cheesecake, rocking ourselves, soothing ourselves because we're so devastated because of more Pierre. It's just, we just have more content. And we're going to be doing a lot of eye rolling as he says stupid stuff. But hopefully, as I mentioned, in this whole debate of economics and everything that we need to do to move forward on the economy and reorient our economy, Pierre has never had a real job and has no economic background. And on the other side, you have a central banker that got us out of the 2008 crisis and got England out of the worst of Brexit. Um, uh, I think the side-by-side juxtaposition of Pierre talking about the economy and Mark Carney talking about the economy would be enough to make it very clear that Pierre just does not have the stuff. So we don't fear Pierre. We find him annoying. He's hard to listen to. He's an energy vampire who wastes all of our time. We're tired of him. We're really tired of him. I mean, the inherent hypocrisy of all of this is that Pierre Poilièvre is a guy that rose to prominence by claiming that MPs should never serve more than 2 terms, and he just forced us to make a $2 million contribution to him personally, so he can have a do-over after losing, so he can have his 8th term. 8th. Said that there shouldn't be more than 2, and got us to give him a do-over so he could get his 8th. Everything you need to know about what he and the party stands for is encapsulated in that one data point. Right? So don't be sad. We're annoyed. We're tired. We would rather he not be there. He's not adding anything productive or constructive to the discussion, and we would rather he be replaced by somebody who could or would. But we don't fear him, and we're not devastated, and our lives are not crushed, and there will not be any liberal tears. We're just going to have to endure, tolerate him, and best him one more time. And we're ready to do the work. So, let the cards landed where they are. And now we're just going to move forward knowing what the deal is. And hopefully, the universe will throw a curveball Pierre's way. And when comes leadership review time, maybe there will be enough members in the party that will start asking themselves the question, do we really want to go into another election with this guy who's already proven he can't win against Mark Carney and who at the time of the leadership vote might still be, might still have a 70-point spread in between the approval ratings, or might still be more than 15 points behind or 20 points behind as the choice of best prime minister. Maybe the Conservative Party maybe the polls will still indicate 42 Liberal, 35 Conservative at that time. And people will wonder, well, he got reelected and now he's had some time in the House. And between now and January, the numbers haven't improved. Maybe we don't want to go further with him. Maybe we don't want to bet it all on Pierre. So the January part, that it might not go well for him, that's still not sealed in stone yet. But these numbers with which he won take away the instant debate. That's, oh yeah, he's doomed now. It will take something else for that to be the case. So we have to put that narrative to bed. It doesn't last any longer than last night. That possibility is not there if we're facing reality. there's going to have to be something else that happens. If he's going to be removed, if he's going to get the hook from the public stage, which we would all like, but you know what? At least we have the devil we know. And he's not good at pivoting. So hopefully he'll trip over his own feet somewhere along the way, as he is prone to do. Right? Kids and cubs, it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, at the count of 3, kids and cubs, if you would, please, all together, a little Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I hear you. I hear you. So lovely. You did it so soft and gentle, almost like a lullaby, to lull me back to sleep so I can get a couple of Z's. You are so good to me. Kids and cubs, since you are good to me, allow me to be good to you and oblige. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. And kids and cubs, I knew I had forgot when, but of course, Kitland M can always count on you when we're talking about Canadians who make us proud. Brandy and Melissa are medalists in beach volleyball from the previous Olympics. Took gold for Canada in beach volleyball this weekend at the Volleyball World Beach Pro Tour Elite 16 event that was held right here in Canada, I believe in Montreal. Brandy Wilkerson and Melissa Humana Paradis. So I had forgotten. I knew I had forgotten one. Thank you, Kitlinda, for being on top of it and making sure that I got that one in. All right, kits and cubs, it's time for me to go. So just like magic, I am gone. Poof.